Yo, what's going on? Just doing a little walk. People have been really enjoying the walk and talks lately, so figured I'd open it up for some questions. I'll be out here for about an hour, so fire away. Yes. I've said it a number of times, but conversations are how human beings evolve. Everyday conversations between everyday people that trust each other spread rapidly and have far greater of an impact than most people understand. It's solved by conversations. The best example is at restaurants. There are thousands of different ways that you can go about getting a recommendation for a restaurant. If you use Google Maps, Yahoo Maps, Yelp, whatever else, MapQuest, there are restaurant review sites, Zagat, every single possible restaurant rating system is at your fingertips at any given time. You can access hundreds of thousands of different opinions and metrics to determine what is the best Italian restaurant around you. Yet if you follow all of those metrics, including Zagat and whatever else, and you do all of it, and your best friend or a person that you know, like, and trust is like, you got to go to this place, you will completely avoid all of those thousands and thousands of crowdsourced touch points to do something that comes from an inner circle that you trust. The same thing goes with all aspects of life. People are how other people's minds are changed. I don't want to butcher the saying, but it goes something like this. It's like, those who believe they can't and those who believe they can are generally both correct. So it's like, you have to believe that that's the case, otherwise it certainly won't. There's also this belief that one has to have. It's like, do you believe that you have the capacity to change the world and or leave the world a better place, impact people, whatever you want to call it? Do you believe that you can leave some indelible mark or have some ripple effect? Because there's certainly not nobody fighting for this cause, right? There's all these signs and signals. You following people like me, maybe that gives you a little bit more hope. Here's another person that's joining in the fight, whatever. You have to believe that that's the case. I'm going to go through my whole life thinking that we're doomed and that it's all over and that they got it in the bag. People age out. Here's the thing. These people that have these grand plans, that have $100 billion or whatever they have, that they're getting older. Their mind is losing sharpness and they're relying on the next generation. A next generation that may not be as scrappy, smart, resilient, or resourceful as you or I. So just because they have money, what don't they have? Couldn't we beat them if we really? And to follow that up, it's like, all right, do you believe that you will have influential power, resources, street skills, street smarts, sharpness? I certainly believe that. It's like, okay, so what? They're going to beat me how? Why? They have more money than me? For now. They have more connections than me? For now. They have more influence than me? For now. Perhaps. What do they not have that I have? What do they not have that you have? They can't win on everything. Money, power, all that influence, control over the courts or whatever else. All of these things are changeable, malleable. They go and change with the seasons. Nothing is permanent. It's there. They want you to believe it can't be, because then you'll give up. Not exactly sure how to answer this one, but I think it's a reasonable question. I think that there are already a lot of different avenues that exist in the realm of health, and people choose which paths they want to go. They may not be as clear-cut as one versus the other. One of the beautiful things about free market capitalism and the free market health system that we have, as free as it kind of is that you have a lot of different choices available to you by which you can choose how you choose to be treated, and I think that there's a lot of options already available. I think that even though it's imperfect, it still is probably the best in the world. And I think statistically, the United States system, all things considered, is one of the best health systems in the world. That's why people come here for certain things, surgeries, cancers for sure, and a variety of other things. So I don't know that you'll have these two where it's like, here's the health one, here's not, but I think that the more information-driven modern person, young people, we have access to much more information. And because we have access to the information and the mindset that we can filter it and navigate our way through it quicker, gives us an advantage where I think that the future of healthcare is evolving at a rapid clip. And this phone, for example, is one way that that's happening. Move. They've already demonstrated what they're willing to do in the face of a problem. I would say move. Go to a freer state. Go to a red state. Get out of there before the next one comes around. People ask me questions like this all the time. Will you watch? Will you do this? Will you share this? Make me want to share it. Make me want to watch it. Make something that's so good that I find it on my own. You don't walk up to a girl and be like, will you like me? Will you like me? You have to make them like you with strategy. I live in South Florida and I have a 16-year-old purebred pit bull named Biggie. I'm willing to do almost any interview, but the same thing goes for like how you would apply for a job. You don't just email a person that has a job available and say, hey, do you want to hire me for that job? You sell them, right? If you want to interview me or have me on a podcast or something, email me, woke@bobbysauce.com. Tell me your name. Tell me about the podcast. Send me a link. Tell me how many listens that you get. Show me where it is. Here it is on Spotify. We have 10,000 episodes. We get 12,000 downloads a month. Here's a link to 5 other reputable people that were also on the podcast. Tell me what it is. If it's brand new, okay, fine. Just tell me that. Lay it out. Don't make me have to ask you what it is. People like email me like, want to be on my podcast? I'm like, what's the podcast? They'll email me from like upside down giraffe 654 at gmail.com, and I'm like, bro, what the fuck? Like, you're making me work to do work. Like, sell it. Tell me. Lay it out. It's pretty simple. Thank you for asking. He's doing pretty well for a 16-and-a-quarter-year-old. He's having a little bit more issues not peeing in the house if he's inside for a long period of time, so that kind of sucks, but otherwise he's doing pretty good for an old man. This is a great question. Belief that my best is yet to come, that my capacity is far from reached, and that the potential is limitless. I feel like entrepreneurship has been one of the greatest gifts of my life, in addition to playing high school football. What high school football taught me, and just sports in general, is that if you work really hard at something, practice, stay diligent and disciplined, that you get great results. It's like you make yourself luckier the harder you work, the longer you practice, the more you put into it. When you really drive it and believe in yourself, it works out. But what entrepreneurship teaches you is that you're only as good as your last month, your last quarter, your last year, your last week, your last day. Nothing will light you up like seeing that this month you did worse than last month. This quarter you did worse than last quarter. This year you did worse than last year. It's always this constant strive for more, better, more efficiency, more improvement, more reach, more strength, more power, more income, more net, more growth. And it teaches you that like when you focus on those little details over time, you can consistently create a pattern and a habit of growth and improvement. And all things in life work essentially the exact same way. So I think that that's been a beautiful lesson, and I think I use that in life all the time, where I'm just like, all I got to do is keep beating yesterday, get better than yesterday, get better than last week, get better than last quarter, get better than last year, and you'll keep winning. I got this one from my dad, and I actually was just saying this to a close friend that had a family tragedy. I try to focus on controlling what I can control and improving the things that I can improve. Whenever I'm bumming out, the default is to go to the gym or exercise. I feel like it's the easiest way to change the weight of the moment. Go to the gym, go take a walk, ride a bike, go for a jog, lift some weights, go on an elliptical, whatever. I feel like exercise is the easiest way of calming your mind and knowing that as time is passing, that an improvement is being made, that at the end of the exercise, you will come out better. So even though 99.9% of your visible life, whatever, may be down, at least that won't be. Control what you can control. Clean your house, clean your room, wash your car, go exercise, get a sweat on, clear your mind, do something that makes you happy, listen to music. That always switches my mind. It's like I've never completed a workout and felt worse. It's kind of like they say, you can't dance without smiling. It's like if exercise is just the easiest thing you can control, like get your body moving, and just like that, your disposition to the world will change, and you'll never complete a workout, even if you don't go very hard, feeling worse than you did before. I think movement is the solution to all things. I think it was Albert Einstein that said something along the lines of like, life is like a bicycle. You fall over when you stop moving or something like that. But yeah, so movement. No worries, and I'll get ahead of it on this one because people already ask. No, it's not a bulletproof vest. It is a weighted vest, and I have two 10-pound plates, a 10-pound plate in the front and a 10-pound weight in the back, so it's 20 pounds. The vest, I believe, is weightless, so 20 pounds. I generally feel that a viewpoint is formed by collecting the most opinions and picking and choosing the ones that seem to resonate with you the most. I've said this to many people in the past. My brother once told me that all the happiness you need is within yourself, and that goes for a variety of other things, not just happiness. But what I tend to tell people is like, if you hear me say something, I'm not telling you something new. It's clicking with your gut. Your instinct knows that it's right, and your body, your gut instinct is hearing it validated externally, and the reason that it feels right is because you already know it inherently. I'm not telling you something new. I'm just reminding you of something that you already know, but you need an external validation to prove that it is correct. So who has influenced me greatly is Jordan Peterson, Tony Robbins. There's a lot of other motivational speakers and inspirational speakers that I've collected along the way, and there's far too many to name, but I've drawn my understanding of life based on a combination of picking and choosing all those pieces. I think Tony Robbins is probably the most influential. I mean, certainly Gary Vaynerchuk, certainly Grant Cardone, Brad Lee, a variety of other authors like Zig Ziglar, and just all of those inspirational characters and inspirational quotes that you hear. Coach Corey Wayne is a really interesting character as well. Previous presidents, the things that they say, I just try to create a combination of all those things. Barbara Corcoran has been very influential to me as well, and her style and philosophy on life. Jesse Itzler is amazing as well. Far too many to name. Goggins. And where I have to give credit where credit is due, a huge amount of my influence and understanding of life has come from my parents, and seeing the way that they act and react to situations has been of infinite value. The way that they form their perspectives about certain things, it's like there's no replacing wisdom, especially blood wisdom, because it's just like you are them. It's just mind-blowing. So I'm incredibly lucky and thankful that I have two loving parents. It's been the gift, the greatest gift of my life. And so many people don't even have that. So I feel incredibly blessed for that reason. 5 billion% George Washington, the founder of our nation, with absolute certainty, no hesitation. I think that George Washington is the guy. Two of the most incredible things about George Washington was he was the definition of don't talk about it, be about it. This was the guy that was the general leading the charge, leading the men into battle, not dictating where they go, at the front. Something is to be said about that, for real. The next biggest thing about George Washington is that George Washington put a limit on his presidential term and stopped being the president after 2 4-year terms. When he could have very easily been the king of America, he chose to step aside to give that power to somebody else, something that he did not have to do. And that represents the pure spirit of America in and of itself. Understanding what your place is in the game and thinking of the bigger picture. Dude, hats off. Absolute legend. George Washington, 100%. The other thing that I find to be so gangster about George Washington is that George Washington was elected unanimously, the only American president to be elected as such. There were 69 votes cast, and he got 69 of the 69 votes in the first election. A unanimous decision says so much about the leadership, integrity, and strength and influence of a person that it's mind-blowing. Think about the captain of your football team. Think about the captain of your soccer team. Was there ever just a person that you were like, that dude's the captain, that person's the captain? Unanimous. It's just like, you know it. They just have that essence to them. George Washington was the only unanimously elected president, and that says a lot about that dude. So, gangster. Trust me, I've thought so much about this, and it's something that I sincerely miss. And there's been a couple times in the last week where I've wanted to jump on, but some other thing has jumped in my way. There's been like 3 interruptions that were kind of almost out of my control. I will tell you this, trust me, it will be soon, hopefully in the next 3 to 5 days. And I do want to get back into them regularly, and I will do that. So I appreciate everybody's patience. I've been doing a lot of events, wrapping up for the holidays, got New Year's now, and a lot of things coming down the chute. So very soon. But thank you for asking, and I appreciate your patience. So wokey. I don't like the restrictions that are happening at a lot of these festivals. It makes me not want to give them any of my money, so I'm stacking. So I actually don't know yet, but I will know soon. No, I don't, because I don't know who you are. So, like, do you realize how many messages a person with 92,000 followers gets in a day? You know how many times people ask people to do stuff? Not just me, anyone. It's like, let's try to have some self-awareness here. It's like, don't you think it's a little arrogant to suggest that I'm being arrogant? Like, whatever, man. It's like, I don't owe you anything. I'm doing the best that I can, giving away as much of my time and attention as I possibly can. Like, I'm outputting a lot. So, no, I owe you nothing. I know it's kind of hard to see, but let's take a little appreciation for the destination here. Dope. Florida's awesome. This is a really interesting question. It's kind of interesting that you say ask as opposed to tell. It's a really interesting premise for a question. I think the first thing that they would ask is, what do you want to know? That's what I think that they would ask. Because I think that if you've watched a lot of episodes of Ancient Aliens and you've paid attention, you've done a lot of research and stuff, one could only deduce that pretty much all they've ever done is help us. It's like if they wanted to destroy us, they would have destroyed us. It seems like they've done nothing but help and kind of push humanity along to better things and growth. So I think the first question they would ask is, what do you want to know? Or how can we help you? Or, you know, what can we tell you that, yeah. Interestingly enough, there's stories about multiple types of extraterrestrial sky gods, whatever you want to say, seeding life, and there's actually stories of them like fighting with each other and battling. And I think that we have to kind of assume that, like, in a lot of ways, we're probably created in their image. I think there's enough evidence and stories to suggest that that would be the case should you choose to believe that. So it's like, what would we do? You know, like, what do we do to animals? It's like, yes, in certain cases we destroy and exploit them. That's what happens with certain things. But like, generally speaking, the vast majority of people like want to help. We want to save the whales and save the tigers and whatever else. And even though somebody is coming with carelessness towards them, generally speaking, we're not just like evil to the core. It's like not in our DNA. Otherwise, we would just be destroying everything. So I would think that like one's innate nature is to help. I think that that's in our biology and probably comes from them if you believe that we're from them in some way, shape, or form. I've determined 2 things. 1, I'll never live away from the ocean. And 2, I'll never live in a place that gets cold. So I would seek the nearest state that had ocean and warmth. So if I had to leave Florida, I would probably move to Georgia. I don't really know about like Louisiana, Alabama, I don't know. Texas does have ocean, but it's the Gulf. So I would say if I had to choose right now, I would probably move to southeastern Georgia, to the ocean, I guess. Or if it had to be a U.S. state, like with the contiguous U.S. states, I'd probably move to Puerto Rico. I believe we have to figure out the ways that we can have the most impact. And though running for office seems like the natural progression, I don't necessarily always think that that is the highest and best use of one's talents. So I certainly wouldn't rule it out. It's always a possibility. But I think that, you know, it depends on how you measure the success. And what I've always thought and or believed what I wanted to be was, if I had to coin it, it would be a thought leader, right? An influential person that distributes the truth or joy or some combination of both, because in a lot of ways they're the same thing. So is that the most influential use of my time and effort? That remains to be seen. So I think that there's a lot of really powerful and influential people that have done great things that would not have been as important if they were the president. Like Tony Robbins. I think Tony Robbins is perhaps one of the most influential human beings to ever walk the face of the earth, not a president, you know? So there's something to be said about that, and I think that there's a lot there, a lot to digest. And I think there might be other people better suited, but we'll see. Hey, I appreciate that. There's a lot of messages that are like this, so just to reduce the redundancy, thank you so much for everyone that's writing the nice messages. Look, I missed the lives too, and when they started getting suppressed, it really took the wind out of my sails, but like I said, trust me, it's coming back soon. Yes, I absolutely do. I think that it would be almost insane to think that there's not a grand design and beauty to all this. I think to deny the beauty and the magic and the calculated magic of whatever it is that this is would be crazy. So I certainly believe that it's by design, that there is purpose to it, that it is beautiful, and it's important. And what that is, or what assembly of English letters I assemble to what vibrational sound I make to what I refer to it as, I don't think is as important as us just recognizing that there is something certainly greater than us, and certainly there's a greater purpose and a beauty to all this that we will likely never know until we have to, and then it'll make all the sense in the world. So somebody asked, I don't want to post it because the word, they said, what would you do if your elderly parents refuse to see you unless you get the juice? I think that I would ask questions and respectfully and politely acknowledge their concern and start simple. Like, okay, meet me outside. You know, I'll sit 20 feet away and we'll be outside. You know, there's more than enough studies that you could present that there's really not much of a risk outside. So I would start with that. And I would say, hey, I'm willing to take a test. I'll take a test right before I walk in the door. I'll take a rapid one. I'll take a long-term one that takes a couple days. I'll isolate, whatever. I would work to accommodate their concerns. And then just work your way up to it. But that's what I would do. Look, salesmen and like in sales training, they teach you that everything in life is sales. And sales is really just persuasion and understanding people, what makes them tick, their emotions, the words that trigger them and the ones that make them feel comfortable. And sales is all about that. It's about being strategic with your approach. So be a salesman, be a salesperson, and figure out how to sell the idea that it's going to be okay. Ease your way in. You don't just go in and say, this is the sale or not, take it or leave it. You figure out ways to be strategic. You build trust over time. Present studies, be willing to accommodate, be willing to isolate at your house, whatever is the case. Do what they're willing to do to get inside the door so you can close the deal. Life is sales. Great skill to know. Essential skill to know. Really, if you had to know only one skill, sales would be the one. Yes, I most certainly take naps, and I believe there's a lot of studies that illustrate why napping is beneficial. I don't take naps every day, but I certainly do take them when I need them. And I don't want to butcher the studies, but essentially it's like a 20-minute nap can have a refreshing effect that's like equivalent to hours of sleep or whatever, and in a lot of ways it's great to recharge. I think that one of the most luxurious elements of, if I'm at work and I'm plugging through something and I'm just feeling run down, I can go on the couch and take a nap. I don't have many calls that are usually scheduled, and I've built my life in a way that I can respond to the indicators from my body in that way. So working for yourself and not being beholden to client work or an employer, or really like a rigorous time schedule, is that you can just respond and react to your body as it tells you what it needs when it needs it. So taking naps, which is kind of what I've talked about a number of times when people ask me about it, is a form of luxury. One of my favorite quotes of all time is, "An unhurried sense of time is in itself a form of wealth." So napping kind of falls into that.